The latest buzzword in virtual boardrooms across the country is hybrid working, and whatever you think of that term, the idea behind it could have a massive impact on your work-life balance and your career. Today, I'm going to explain exactly what hybrid working is and what you can do now to take control of your life when things get back to normal. So what is hybrid working? Well, if like me, you've been working at home for the past 6 months, you'll know that it's perfectly possible to work happily and productively from home. And there's no doubt that our collective experience this year is going to have long-lasting implications for the future of work. But as conditions become safer, the majority of companies are going to want people to return into the office, at least from time to time. And this is where the idea of hybrid working comes into play. It's a fusion of the old, traditional, commuter-based ways of work with the newfound flexibility that we found from working from home. It means finding entirely new ways of creating a culture, communicating with each other, and even really basic stuff like cybersecurity or maintenance of equipment. But there are things that you can do now to prepare for that hybrid workplace of the future, beyond just optimizing your work from home setup, as I've done over the past 6 months. And the most important thing for you right now is to find that self-awareness to understand what kind of person you are and what kind of life you really want when we get back to normal. And don't worry, this isn't where I tell you to get into cyber or anything. I know tons of people who work in creative agencies entirely for the culture, and working through a weekend on a creative sprint in a room surrounded by ultra creative people can really be exhilarating. But what happens if you can only do that once a month? You might be on the other side of things and be a creative who works in that environment but is actually more of an introvert and prefers the long stints at home when you can just get stuff done. Maybe working in a creative agency is more appealing to you in a hybrid workplace because you don't always have to be in the office and participating in the kind of creative sprints that we knew from the past. On the other hand, you might have really appreciated the work-life balance that remote working has offered you over the past 6 months. And it might be that you want that to continue even when the rest of your colleagues are ready to go back into the office. And if that's the case, you have to ask yourself whether you'd be willing to accept the possibility that your employer could promote someone who goes into the office every day over you when the next big opportunity comes up. It might be worth it for the time with your kids or the time that you get to spend working on personal projects, but you have to decide what the trade-off is that you're willing to make for that flexible lifestyle. And undoubtedly, there'll be loads of new technologies and jobs that we can't even think of at the moment. Everyone's embraced things like Zoom and Google Hangouts and put up with Google Chat, but there's potential solutions that might be much better suited to a hybrid workplace than a purely remote one. So if you're the sort of person who's got amazing ideas that change the way we work in a hybrid world, you need to get cracking on those ideas now, because I guarantee you, startups are pitching big companies already with ideas that they think might revolutionize the way we work in a post-COVID world. Personally, I've honestly found working from home to be mostly great. I've loved being able to spend more time closer to my family and friends. I even managed to move cities, which I didn't think was possible before if I wanted to maintain my career path. And if you want to hear more of that, then check out my video on why I left London. But I've also been able to reconnect with my creative side by not having the pressure of working with other people around me all the time. I definitely feel like I can be a little bit freer in my expression when I've got time to think about things alone. On the other hand, I completely appreciate that working from home is fine if everyone's doing it. But if there's majority of people in the office and just a couple of people working from home, it becomes really difficult to have a proper conversation as a group. And I think that's going to be one of the big problems that we need to solve if hybrid working is going to become a reality. I do think you might start to see a much more decentralized working environment. And by that I mean not all companies will have one big HQ in a major city. They might have hubs throughout areas or regions. So for example, if you're working in the south, there might be more of a chance to have a hub in Brighton, a hub in Bristol, a hub in Oxfordshire, with maybe the main operations still happening in London, but with people feeling free to move between the home counties and surrounding areas with a little bit more flexibility, which I think is also great for the country actually, because we need a more decentralised economy, in my opinion. One thing's for sure, companies will want to bring people together. That's not going to go away, but we're going to have to be open to new ideas that allow people to continue living the advantages that they found during the past 6 months. So I hope this video has given you some food for thought and encouraged you to start thinking about how you want to live your life when workplaces become not quite as clear cut as remote working and in the office. How are you going to adapt to a hybrid workplace of the future? Let me know in the comments what your experience with working from home has been, and I'm really interested to know what's your ideal split of days at home and days in the office. 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? Let me know. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you can consider subscribing. You can also give me a thumbs up or share with your friends, which will really help me get the word out there. But also, just remember that some people aren't lucky enough to be able to work from home at the moment, and it's important that you find a way to support them too. Some of the things that I've been doing are making sure that I shop at independently owned local businesses. It's also a really good idea to buy gift vouchers for a business that you think might have to close over the short term, so that you can at least give them some cash flow. For now, that's all from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.